My name is Ruby. Welcome to my channel. Since most of you are new, actually all of you will probably be new because it's my first video. So today I'm going to be doing my 2021 bullet journal setup, and it will be in this Archer and Olive Falling Stars notebook, which was kindly gifted to me by a friend. We split the cost, and I'm so thankful to her because I'm in love with this journal. And with that, let's get on with the video. I hope that you enjoy. Hello everyone, as I said before, I'm going to be using an Archer and Olive notebook. It's 160 dot grid pages, and the pages are actually super thick. They're 160 GSM, I believe, and the one that I had before was about, I think like 60 or 80 GSM. It also has this super cute little charm. It's the Archer and Olive little, like, I think it's their logo. I'm not sure, it's like the and sign between the Archer and the Olive. I will admit I was quite nervous starting this journal and just starting a YouTube channel and recording myself. So I apologize if my handwriting is not amazing. I was incredibly concerned it was gonna be bad. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the cover page for 2021. However, before we get started, I am gonna tell you what I'm using. So I just bought myself the mildliners and also the crayola super tips, and I was incredibly excited by the huge variety of color that I could get from especially the super tips, because there's like 50 of them and I got it $10 from Target. Also, the mildliners, I will say, I found them for $13 on Amazon, and elsewhere they were like $40. These things are expensive. Going on with the title, we've got 2021, of course, and I wanted to go for a theme that kind of gave me a little bit of excitement and hope for the new year, which for me was something that looked a bit like a party and like confetti. And I also have just been really loving the look of things that are like abstract and like cute, I guess. So I went around and I added a bunch of little shapes, and then I took my, I think it's Pilot Juice. I've had this pen for a few years. It served me all through at least half of high school, and I just went over all the little things with a little bit of an offset and over the 2021 as well. And that concludes the cover page. And before we move on to the next page, taking a little sip of tea. So if you're doing a bullet journal setup along with me, pour yourself a glass and let's sip along together. Now on to the next pages. This is actually my first time doing hopefully a full year of a bullet journal, so it's my first setup, and I've seen a lot of people do this grid spacing. So I went ahead and did the same thing. It actually came in super handy as I was setting up the bullet journal itself. So I already know that it has a lot of use, and at first I was not sure if I wanted to do one just because it seemed like a bit of a hassle and a lot of ruler and a lot of math and whatnot for something that I felt like I might not have to use, just because I tend to eyeball, as I like to keep my bullet journal nice and like minimalistic, just so that I can always keep up with it. But I mean, it's already coming in handy, so I would definitely suggest you guys to do the same thing. And I'm keeping with the same color scheme and the same kind of bubble lettering with a little bit of an offset. I actually messed up the grid spacing because I'd written it down and I misread it, and I did the quarter for the third, but we got it back in perfectly. I'm doing the exact same thing with the little doodles of like triangles, circles, squiggles, and rectangles in all 4 of my colors, and then going back over them with the Pilot Juice pen. Moving right along to the next page, this is going to be where I put my index. So I'm starting off hello head by putting in a couple of black lines just to square off where my index is going to go, and then a couple of little bubbles as to where the lines start. And then of course, going in with the same theme, I'm adding my little bubble letters and a bunch of little doodles all around the page. Now at this point, I'm taking out one of two Copic markers that I actually own because they're very expensive, and I got these I think 4 years ago, and I've been terrified to use them ever since I got them, but I thought it would come in handy as a very light blue color in contrast to everything else, just as like a every other line kind of look that I've seen a lot of people do and I really love. But I found that the Copic chisel tip is actually a bit too big, so it looks a little bit awkward. And also, as you can see, it bleeds a little bit through, which is surprising considering this is 160 GSM pages. This next spread is my 21 things to do in 2021. I saw someone do it as 20 things to do in 2020, which kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit more, but I loved the idea and I really wanted to incorporate it into my bullet journal. I just went in with the same 4 colors I've been using this whole time and spread out my numbers a little bit haphazardly, but it's okay. It'll serve its purpose, and I'm going to go back in and fill it out at a later time. But for now, I'm just adding the numbers and outlining them as I have been doing. The next spread in my bullet journal is my goals or resolutions page. I frequently have goals and resolutions that I don't really follow through with, but I'm hoping that with this bullet journal it will help me really keep on top of my goals and also just in general have a place to always look back on them. Right now I am outlining little boxes for my personal, work, school, and health goals. And moving on, we have my year at a glance type spread. I guess it's kind of like a future log and a year at a glance all in the same 2 spread layout. So I've put in just multicolored little banners, and it's going to be for the first 6 months of the year and then for the second 6. And as you can see, I have already had a little mistake. Thank you, whiteout. Now for the painstaking task of numbering out all of the months. I've heard a lot of people in their bullet journal setups talking about how this is such a pain. I actually kind of enjoyed myself and I found it a little bit relaxing, but you guys are you, so whatever it ends up being. And now I'm using my Pentel Sign brush pen. As you can see, I had to take a little breath because this is my first time using it for a bullet journal. I have never used a calligraphy pen in my life. It definitely needs some work, but for now, it'll do. It looks decent. So the final thing that I did for this page was I added little lines underneath as a breaker, and I didn't do it here, but I plan to go back in and add in the birthdays and the major events of the months. Now I'm going back in, and at that top little, I guess, third of the page, I'm adding in all of my little doodles again. And then I went over it with my pen. power of editing, there's the second half of the month. So this next spread is going to be my bucket list spread. For the video itself, I only added in the words bucket list and a bunch of little doodles around it. This is just going to be a little spread and have a bunch of little arrows coming off that center title saying what my bucket list items are, at least for the year, if not for the future. This next spread is going to be my period and money tracker. Now, I know this is a very weird combination, but it was the best kind of setup for the spreads that I had and for the spacing. I didn't want to take up way too many pages, and it's simply going to be the months of the year and then 31 days, and at the very bottom have a little money sign where I'm going to input my checking and my saving account balance. And with the power of editing right there, I finished my grid because my head was in the way the entire time, and I didn't want you guys to have to sit through that. So as you can see, I put all my numbers and the little dollar sign, and hopefully I will make some money this year. The final thing I'm going to do for this page is add in some of my classic little doodles that are kind of the overarching theme for the year, I guess. Now, as you can see, I'm actually making great use of my future log to know how many days are in each month. Now on to the next spread. This is going to be my reading list spread. One of my resolutions that I know that I'm going to have for 2021 is just to read more. I don't read a lot, and I always want to read more, but I never really make myself do it. But recently I watched all of the Harry Potters because I hadn't, and I also never read the books as a child, and I feel like I kind of missed out on something that everyone has in their childhood. So part of my reading list is every single book in the Harry Potter series except for the first, because I just read the first one. I started out using tape on the back because I forgot that I actually had glue. So you'll see me cutting out all the little books and taping them down, and then eventually realizing that I have glue and then gluing all of them down. I also just found out that Ready Player 2 came out. It's a book by Ernest Cline, and I absolutely loved Ready Player 1 when I read it. So I'm gonna reread it so that I remember what's happening, and I'm gonna then read Ready Player 2, and I got my hands on it. I'm so excited to read it. I also have The Girl Who Played with Fire and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest because I read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and I loved the book, but I never got around to reading the other ones. I also have Snow Crash, which is a book that I am about halfway through at the moment, but haven't taken the time to really finish. And then, of course, classic, The Three Lord of the Rings, because I love the movies, and I feel like a terrible person for having watched the movies but not read the books. And as you can see, there's actually a space missing for the third Harry Potter, which is because I printed out all the books, but I somehow lost the tiny little third Harry Potter book, which is kind of annoying. I'm going underneath them and adding a little block of color where I'm going to write in the title, and also 5 little circles that I can fill in with how many stars I eventually give the book when I finish reading it. On the next page, I'm putting in my things to check out list. Part of this things to check out is hopefully going to be you guys telling me more books that I can put into my reading list, because as you can see, I left 1 line and also I think 2 lines on the next page for me to add in more books as I add to my reading list. And then also in the things to check out, I'm putting in TV shows, movies, and the other is kind of for things like food or just general things that people suggest to me to check out. At this point, I realized that I forgot to do something in my reading list, which is just add a tiny little box in the bottom right corner where I'm going to eventually put a check mark when I finish reading the book. The next spread in my setup is a wish list, because I frequently put it in the beginning of my monthly spreads in my past 3 months of bullet journaling, which is all the experience that I have. And I thought it would be perfect to have a full year wish list in my bullet journal. So I put in 4 different colored boxes, one for the item, the second for the date, for like when I want it or when I bought it, I haven't decided. The next is a column for the amount of money that it's going to cost, and then the final one is a little checkbox where I'm going to check off if I bought it or not. I also use the copic marker again, but as you will see, I kind of stopped using it as an every other highlighter because it's just a little bit too finicky with the size of the chiseled edge, and it also bleeds through, which is a bit annoying. So the next page is a gift ideas spread because I do not want to forget any ideas that I have for gifts, or when people mention that they want something for any time that I can get them for their birthday or Christmas. So same thing, I'm doing 4 little colored boxes. The first is for who it's for, the second is the item, the third is the cost, and then the final one is if I bought it or not. So as you can see in this spread, and you'll see in the next, I didn't use the copic markers. This spread is a YouTube ideas spread. I do believe I got this idea from Amanda Rachley. I'm sure some of you have heard of her. If not, please go check her out. She is amazing. So I use the same exact setup as her in terms of the boxes. The first is the idea, the second is whether or not I filmed it, the third is whether or not it was edited, and the final one is if it was actually put out. This next spread is a YouTube and art growth. It's just a growth page because I currently, for I think the past maybe 4 months, I've had an art account going on Instagram, and I had a tracker going in my old bullet journal for milestones that I reached in that account, and I wanted to continue that, but also of course wanted to add in my YouTube account, which is this one. So my YouTube is rubydawn, and hopefully with the help of you guys I'll be able to hit maybe 1 or 2 of my milestones. I don't know, I didn't put in too many. I left a lot of space in case something crazy happens, but I'm not expecting too much, so keeping it humble and putting in only a couple of boxes for the time being. For the YouTube one, it's going to go up by increments of about 100 until, if I hit 1,000, then it will go up in 500 increments. As you will see in the art account, I've already hit 1.7 thousand, so the first milestone in the art account is 1.5k. For the YouTube, I saw this adorable idea. I don't know if it was Amanda Rachel Lee or someone else, because I've watched a lot of different people that have inspired me like crazy, and they have these super cute little YouTube icons that it can fill in when you hit a certain milestone. And then for my art account, I just wrote in the little milestone in the box, and I'm going to highlight over it when it's completed. And so this last page I'm going to leave for a dear future me for the beginning of 2020, which I will answer at the end of 2021. And with that, we are done. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Please feel free to give it a like if you did, and subscribe as well, because it's the beginning of this channel. And also, since it is, please comment and let me know what you would like to see next from me. I hope that we will have a wonderful journey together. So until next time, peace.